So I got it in my head that I want a offset style guitar with a tremolo that's more modernized. I was looking at really high-end ones like what Sir offers, Tom Anderson, Fano, Valiant, and the Doheny by G&L. And in that price point category, the Doheny is the only one that's under $2,000. And I was looking around and I saw that Fender makes the Performer now in an option that looks similar to that. So I reached out to the guys at Sweetwater and I asked them if they would send one out to the channel. They had a Blim one, so it worked out perfect. And now we're gonna do a deep dive to see how good it is, considering even though, like I said, those guitars are about $2,000, this is in the low teens. And that's pretty good for an American-made guitar. All right, with that being said, let's get into the geeky stuff. So this is a 2000, let's look at the year on this. This is a 2023. This guitar comes in at $1,349. It comes in 3 colors. It comes in this Sunburst, which is pretty much the way I wanted to go, kind of more traditional look. Although they do have a Lake Placid blue, but I believe it's satin. And then they have vintage white. They'll have a rosewood fingerboard. This rosewood fingerboard is very dry, is why it seems so milk chocolatey, not kind of like dark chocolatey. I'm going to go ahead and hydrate the fretboard. You can use whatever fretboard conditioner you like, or if you want to use linseed oil. I just put some on the cloth and I apply it and just let it sit. Do you have to do this? I think it's smart if you live where I live. I live in Arizona, it's very dry here. If a fretboard is to continue to dry, it could eventually crack. That is something that can happen. The crack usually happens with the grain towards the base of the neck and it'll just follow down the center or the side. Once that's done, you'll have to glue it. This board is so dry that literally, like right here where I'm touching, there is no oil. It is sucking it in as we speak. Very different how it looks now already versus how it looked before. You just want this wood to soak in what it wants. So the question is, how often should you do this? Well, I think you just saw. It looked like it needed it. It kind of had a very light tone to it. And again, it had a powdery feel to it. It felt dry, so I went ahead and tried a little bit of conditioner on it, and look what a massive difference it did. You may not have to do this, but maybe once a year. And anything the fretboard doesn't absorb, you can just go ahead and wipe off with the cloth when you're done. It's a maple C shape, so it's a traditional Fender maple C carve shape. 9.5-inch radius on the fretboard. It has a walnut skunk stripe down the center of the neck. This is a one-piece maple neck. It is not quarter sawn. It is a alder body, and it has Clouson style tuning keys, which I actually like. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I prefer locking keys, but I can pop in some. Actually, Godo makes a really nice replacement set of locking keys. As I've explained before in the past, locking keys are not about tuning stability. They're just about fast string changes. I just like to change strings as fast as possible. It's not a task I enjoy. We have 2 string trees. The nut is synthetic. So what does synthetic mean? Well, it probably means it's melamine. Melamine you guys would probably know from countertops and flooring. It's just a hard material and they use it for all kinds of things. Okay, so let's go ahead and check the nut. And to do that, we're just gonna press down on the 3rd fret and see how big the gap is between the top of the 1st fret and the string. There's a little bit of space right there. But on the E string, on the A, it looks like it's perfect. D is perfect. G is also perfect. B and E. So just the low E, just a little bit shallow right there. They could have filed that down a little deeper, but as I've always stated, I'd rather them go a little shallow and you can make it deeper yourself than if they make it too deep, then you're gonna have buzzing. There's no buzzing on this guitar. Chords sound great, so we're perfect. 25.5-inch scale length with 22 jumbo frets. Another thing that I really liked. I was like, man, this is just everything I like. This guitar comes in at under 7.5 pounds, but most of them I was looking, they're about just over 8 pounds. So this was on the lighter side, which was nice. The neck has a very thin satin polyurethane finish that almost feels like natural, and the body has a high gloss polyurethane finish. White clay dots in the neck. The frets are highly polished, which is really nice. It has Yosemite Jazzmaster single coil pickups, has 1 master volume and 1 tone control and a toggle switch. As you can see here, it does not have the switches up here that you traditionally have. It does come with a gig bag. I'll show you that real quick. Let me grab it. Very basic style Fender gig bag. Not super thick, as you can see. It doesn't stay firm when you hold it. You have 6 individual bent saddles. Again, this is a traditional Fender style tremolo. There's no push-in arm. It's just basically how it comes. Highly rolled fretboard edges. I did not expect it to be so rolled. I mean, they are really rolled and broken in. Let's go ahead, we'll take some measurements. Okay, so for the nut, 42.76 millimeters, and I'm showing it at 1.683. The 12th fret is coming in at 2.046, or 51.98 millimeters. Okay, so taking the depth at the 1st fret, we're coming in at 22.88 millimeters, and that is 0.981. On the 12th fret, we're coming in at 23.68 millimeters, or 0.932. The neck is not super thick or chunky. This is definitely the medium carve that they talk about. Now, what's interesting about this guitar is that the pickups are direct mounted to the body. So even though there's a pick guard, the pickups are not mounted to the body. What is mounted to the pick guard is just the toggle switch and the output jack, the volume pot, and the tone pot. One thing you need to be aware of is the only way to get the pick guard off the guitar is to take off the neck. Okay, something to note, this model does not have a micro tilt. Well, a couple things. And so you know, sometimes this gets really tricky because a lot of manufacturers, and I mean a lot, have really adopted a new way of doing shielding where they shield the cavity and then they take it to the paint booth. So sometimes the shielding is underneath there, but I don't see it. So I'm going with it's not there, but it is possible. You know, I could try and sand down to it, but I'm just gonna assume, because it is grounded there, that it's there. We have the three-way switch. Odd choice. Really odd choice that they went with this style of three-way switch and not just a smaller profile one. You have the 250K potentiometers right here. This here is, they're using a PC board as their capacitor now. So this is all just predetermined and put in there. Just makes things easier. And then your two pickups that are mounted, like I said, directly to the body. So nothing super exciting in here. It's actually really clean. I mean, there's buffing compound, but you're gonna see that. I mean, most manufacturers are not gonna clear all that out. By the way, this was made in January 26, 2024. Wait a minute, you just said it was, this is a 2023, but now this thing is made in January of 2024. It's because if you go to Fender's factory, it's not really a guitar building factory, it's a parts factory. They make necks, they make bodies, they make you know, bridge plates, they make pickups, and then assemble the guitars when they need them, whether it's a dealer order or they're just making product from, you know, they're guessing what the market's going to want. And then a lot of the stamping is done when that process is complete, when they've made the guitars. So they may grab a guitar neck, you know, in the recession, sales got so slow and so bad that you would get guitars that would say 2009, they would have 2007 necks on them because they just had them laying around. Okay, so let's go ahead and check the frets to make sure that they're all level. Okay, so it has no dead spots, no buzz. Let's go ahead and check the fret ends. Okay, so let's go ahead and check the treble side. And feels pretty good. I don't see a single snag, but I kind of felt it snag a little bit. But yeah, nothing's coming through. It looks great. Let's try the bass side. Yeah, that's a 5 out of 5. Two things I want to show you real quick that are things that I'm noticing as issues for me. One, you know, it's the typical Fender 6 saddle tremolo, and of course the action came in at 2 millimeters off the 12th fret. So the action's great, or it's definitely fine. But here, if we try this, you can see these screws, the grub screws, are just poking out. And, you know, either way. So that has to be addressed. I have videos. I will put a link down below on how to address that. There's two different ways, one that costs you a few bucks and one that's free. That's an issue, so that's a little rough. But the main thing that I wanted to show you guys was this. This one threw me off. I don't even know how to explain this. So if you know these string trees, how they work, this is screwed in and then there's a tab that's on the other side of this that's sticking in a hole. Both these string trees are at an angle. I've never seen that before. So, I mean, it'd be one thing if one was messed up, but they're both identically almost on the same angle. This one definitely worse, a little worse. So it's funny to me because I've seen them do this in the factory. They have a little template, so it's weird to see why they would be off, but these are both off, especially that one. So just something to take note of. So let's take a look at these pickups. The first thing I want to show you is that they are both single coils, but more importantly, this one is running north and this one is running south. You can show that again. So that means in the middle position, you should have hum canceling. We'll double check that. Some other interesting things about the pickups is that they were designed by Tim Shaw and they feature an Alnico 4 magnet and they're shellac potted instead of wax potted. This is going to give them a very vintagey vibe. Let's go ahead and see what these are metering out at. So looking at the bridge pickup, we're coming in at 6.83K. And the neck pickup coming in at 6.94. So those are basically in line with what you would actually see like a Strat single coil reading at. Let's go ahead and look at the inductance. And looking at the inductance, the bridge is at 3.62 and the neck is at 3.58. Like I always say, none of that stuff matters if it doesn't play great. Let's talk about a couple things. First, the balance. It's nice on the lap, but you can see it's a little top heavy. That could be because of the weight, because it's on the lighter side. So it is possible that a guitar with a slightly heavier body might anchor itself better onto your lap. Sitting, of course, it sits great, or sorry, standing, of course, it stands great because the way the extended arm out is, it felt really great when I was using a guitar strap with it. We talk sometimes about the handshake where we hold it right here. It's a standard, Fender neck joints. Of course, the block gets in your way a little bit when you're kind of getting up there. It's just not a modern neck joint. My concerns going into this was maybe the melamine nut, whether or not it would be lubricated enough like a bone nut or a graphite nut to stay in tune, but it's been staying in tune great. It's been really impressive. And the tremolo feels fantastic. Another concern I had was, the one thing about the Jazzmaster tremolo is it's kind of a more smooth, vibrato system, but feels great. Okay, so what are we doing? We're running through a Fender Princeton 68 reissue into a 112 creamback selection mic'd up with an SM57, and then we have a room mic. Okay, I'm gonna go to the bridge. Okay, in the middle position. I mean, it's got a great sound to it. It doesn't sound, they don't sound like a big P90. They definitely have more of a softer side to them. Tremolo stays in tune in tune about as well as any Fender Strat tremolo stays in tune without a huge, kind of a lot of setup work done to it. It works fine. Let's go ahead and run an overdrive. I'm going to run a OD11 into the Princeton. Start with a bridge pickup. Here we go. Middle position does go out, so there's no hum. Let's go ahead, neck pickup. So what are the thoughts on this? Well, a couple things. First of all, the string trees didn't seem to affect tuning stability and they don't seem to affect anything, but I do think that's an issue, at least in the fit and finish aspect of it. Sound-wise, I think the pickups sound fantastic. Playing-wise, it feels like a Jazzmaster, but it's also got a kind of Strat thing going because it's just a Strat tremolo. I think for me, it's a perfect choice. I just like something more like this. And price-wise, I think this is where it's at for a little while with Fender. I mean, although not affordable by any means, way more obtainable than these $2,000 price points that the USA stuff's getting at. But I also got to say, another draw for me was the jumbo frets. So jumbo frets, you know, Strat tremolo, it just got the vibe. It's pretty cool. So let me know in the comments down below. Is this a Jazzmaster? Is it not a Jazzmaster? What are your rules on that? If you don't have a Jazzmaster tremolo or you don't have the extra switches, it's not a Jazzmaster. To me, I don't know if I'm that strict about those things, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. As always, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. To the next time, know your gear.